Okay, so we have a quorum. So I decided.
Oh wait, I'm sorry. Shoot, I had my minutes, or my pile right in front of me. I'm sorry.
Well, so we have a quorum, and we'll let Lucy in as soon as she gets on. And I decided to have devotions. Just because, I mean, I'm still going through the covenant thing, but I decided I would do these devotions because I thought this is perfect for today.
I'm getting a message that we're signed out because we're signed on another device, and yet we appear to be signed on.
I see you.
I
hear you.
I'm not going to worry about it until.
Okay. So the thing was doing the bulletin now, of course, now that I read all of the verses very seriously, so I make sure that I don't make any mistakes.
It's great worship preparation.
Yes, this time I was like, well, how come they didn't do Matthew 13, 31 through 35? Because, you know, it went from one to the other. So, well, I pulled up Matthew 13, 31 through 35. And of course, it is there's Lucy. And it is the very common parables of the mustard seed and the yeast.
That's coming. Aren't one of them coming up next week?
No, well, I don't know. I didn't look at next week. So anyway, but I thought, oh, this is perfect because everybody knows the story of the mustard seeds and that. And of course, it's not just in Matthew, it's in the other parables too. So of course, you know that Jesus always had to talk in parables because he was dealing with people and he had to be able to relate to people. Because if you just start talking about heaven in the broad sense of terms, people would have probably fled as he was talking.
Yeah.
Yes. So in the stories, of course, of the mustard seed and the yeast, I kind of broke it down into different sections. So if you look at the mustard seed and the yeast as God's kingdom, one, it starts small, very small. So we all know that because the mustard seed and yeast is very tiny as well. So the kingdom of God starts very small. But knowing what the mustard seed's going to do, it's going to grow surprisingly large. Same thing with using yeast and adding flour to it. And especially, I don't know if you've ever done 3 cups worth of flour, but that's a lot of bread. I mean, you're going to make a lot of bread with 3 cups of flour and yeast. So it's going to grow surprisingly large. There's no question about it. But the third part about it that I find that I like to talk about is that it's hidden. You know, you don't see the mustard seed when you put it in the ground. It just starts growing. And then you really don't even see a mustard seed when it's in the bushes. And, you know, they talk about the birds and the nesting and everything, but you really don't see a mustard seed in a mustard seed plant. Same thing with the yeast. You don't see it, but you see what happens as a result of it. And the other thing that when I was researching this that I found out is that mustard seeds are all over the world. Mustard seed will grow all over the world.
Did not know that.
As a matter of yes, as a matter of fact, some people, just like you're saying, some people consider them plants and some consider them weeds. So, but they grow all over the world. Same thing with yeast. Yeast is used all over the world. So if we look at it this way, what I brought it all together is, and when you look at what we've been going through with Matthew and talking about wheat and farming and everything and on, I call it the miraculous mundane, because it happens all over the world. It happens every single day, and it's the miraculous mundane. Any other thoughts?
I hope that's coming up in the next couple of weeks. A lot of material.
I don't know if it is or not.
Can I just say something about parables? There's so many parables in the Bible, and that's how Jesus taught his disciples. So I often think when you'd hear him talking about dying and being raised in 3 days and rebuilding the temple in 3 days and stuff, I'm thinking that the disciples are saying, well, what does he mean this time? Trying to make it into a parable because he didn't know what he was talking about.
Yeah, and there are places where he says, I've told you plainly. And it's like, not in the version we got.
But those are good thoughts, Karen.
Well, especially when I started researching mustard, I was like, it's all over the world. It's everywhere. I did not know that it
Good
grows
for dying
everywhere.
too.
It's good.
Yeah,
that's true.
Dye, like fabric dye.
Oh,
fabric
okay.
dye.
So like,
Yeah.
what?
I'm so focused on my.
Yeah. So let's start with prayer. Dear Lord, you show us how we can begin your kingdom small, and through your words, your deeds, and our actions, we can grow into marvelous, beautiful, and the miraculous mundane. Amen. Okay, so we're going to start out with the reports that we didn't finish. So we have the incident reports.
Oh, so I didn't bring the book, but we had an incident on Wednesday where just this past Wednesday, I did write it up. I just didn't bring the book. No, I just know that you spent like a month trying to remind me the other one, taped to my forehead. Anyway, and that the group that came in to rehearse on Wednesday evening found the door unlocked. And so they were a little bit concerned. And I just have to remember to tell the Coulters that to remind them. And I suspect it's one of those group responsibility things, but they did a walk around for us and just made sure that everything was secure. And somebody had dropped off some stuff on the front steps, which, made them nervous, like maybe that meant somebody was hanging out here, but it didn't look like anybody had entered the property. But there's no action necessary other than I'll mention it to the Coulters.
All right.
As a reminder.
Okay, and then the worship and music report. I don't know that.
Did
Lucy,
we meet?
That's where we had what we called an ad hoc meeting and made some decisions and sent them out and said, if you're not okay with these decisions, then say so. Otherwise, I think it was I think it was David and Karen and me and I think Lucy, you were in and out, if I remember correctly. That was just one of those days where we were all overlapping each other. And so we kind of decided stuff and wrote it in the book and sent out an email about it.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and we switched, I took July hymn since I wanted to get going on the bulletin.
Mhm.
And so
And I'm
we
doing
swapped that.
August.
Right. And August 6th will be starting with Bread of Life.
And
So
I
I'm
sent
working on the
sent out
bulletin for that now.
an email suggesting I just count up how many months each person had taken. And so I said, okay, I think it's David's turn next. And Lisa, I think I don't remember what month I gave you. And if somebody doesn't like their month or wants to switch or whatever, I just kind of wanted to fill in the rest of the liturgical year.
Right. And then the one thing that we haven't, and since there's 4 of us right now, and other than David, we haven't come up with a prayer theme for Bread of Life.
Oh, that's right. Oh, what was the
So
one that I emailed out with?
I couldn't find it.
Okay,
yeah.
I'll look for it. Because it was,
So
yeah. So
So if anybody has the ideas for the prayer music, that would be great.
see if I can find it. I know I put it at the top of something that it didn't go with, but I just said, I'm going to forget this by the time it's relevant. Let me type it here.
Okay.
I know that's very helpful.
And then the next thing is the program report. And I know that hard copies were made, and Brad sent out email copies.
Yeah. So
but
I didn't, go ahead.
I'm sorry. But the one thing that I wanted to emphasize was the fact that we need to begin the process for the Rasmuson and the Food Network grant for the remodel downstairs. We've got to get that process going. And I know that Brad has been talking about it, but he's in the process to get that going. That's what the painting's going on right now. So the downstairs is going to be in a state of flux.
Yeah, we
for a
finally got
while.
John back in contact today, which was good. And I said,
Yeah.
don't leave messages on the machine here. And so hopefully
Who's John? Who's John?
he's long-term patron, kind of friend of the congregation who is a painter. And so we hired him to do the painting. And but as is often true with our patrons, complicated life. But it meant that nothing was happening for a few days, and we couldn't get a hold of him because he didn't have a phone. And so it was, there were a lot of messages here explaining what was going on, but that didn't help us. So he got in touch today, and he said he'll have it done within he said before the 28th. So he's finishing. I don't think he has that much left.
Yeah. So the reason that I'm bringing this up is that there's going to have to be quite a bit of lead time for purchasing equipment to get it up here so that we can get it in. And we're having, it does cause some problems because things have got to get ordered, and they'll be in here, and we'll have to store them downstairs, and getting them paid with the credit cards, like right now, the credit cards, the one they can't charge any more on. And then secondly, the one, Christine, that was in your name, we had to put the airfare for Tamara and April on that one because we had to buy those tickets because they're coming up on the 7th. Well, they're coming up on the 6th, but so that's an issue. How can we accommodate this? Because some of these things are going to be big ticket items.
I don't even, if they're big ticket items, if there's even a credit limit to accommodate them. And if it's for a grant purchase, typically before purchase, if it's a grant reimbursement, you have to have the approval for the purchase that would later be reimbursed by the grant. And invoices up front, not after the fact. And have, you know, with our thing, we need to have 2 signatures on it for approval for purchase.
So the question that we already have the money, correct? We have the Rasmuson and the Food Network grant money, correct?
I know we received the Rasmussen fund, so yes. So then we would have for that one, I think it's a different one, that's a reimbursement. For that one, it would just be, you know, submitting a quote and then having it approved for payment beforehand.
Well, I was gonna say the food.
I'm just assuming that you're talking about equipment that's over $5,000.
Well, we've got to start purchasing the equipment. And so I can't tell you what the cost is.
Right,
I'm assuming there's
there were some big ticket items. So I'm saying for those ones, we might have to do something where we issue a check for it, or something in that regard, you know, to make sure that you know, it gets paid for. I can't remember offhand what my credit limit is on the First National Bank card, but if it's been used, then obviously that's been down. And the Citibank one, which is maxed out, I believe, is 5,000. But you know, getting the receipts to make payment is kind of key there.
So, I don't know if this is the appropriate time or not, but I would like to propose that, that the grants, well, no contracts right now. I was gonna say grants and contracts, that we have the accounting done by an outside firm. And include that in the cost of the grant. And still, we can still put in place that it has to, you know, that anything over a certain amount has to be approved by, you know, 2 people and have the same authority over it. But I would like them to be on separate accounts and managed separately. I think it would make it cleaner and easier to sort out. We're already having differences in what, you know, what Brad's accounting says is the spending, and what Christine, I'm just using your name as the treasurer, says is the spending. And I think it would be cleaner if we separated them. And then if there was something that was, you know, that for some reason Resurrection needed to bill the grant, Resurrection could bill the grant, but it'd be like just like any other bill saying, okay, now this grant owes us this much money.
That's fine, except for that the same thing might happen there, is that you have to receive the receipts to know what you're paying against in a timely manner in order to make the payment. Also, you know, if there's something that comes in directly to Resurrection, especially like the garbage bill, for example, which I actually didn't pay anything into what Resurrection's normal garbage bill is. Resurrection paid its full garbage bill for the year, what it would normally pay. The only thing I charged to cold weather was all the additional pickup stuff. So, but there's stuff that gets billed directly to Resurrection. Also, if the grant said that there's going to be payroll and it's through Resurrection, that payroll has to be done through Resurrection as well, through our EIN. Contract work, I know, doesn't have to go through, it just requires a 1099. You know, but you know, if the grant can afford a professional accounting firm that's licensed and everything, then whatever is not subjected that has gone through our EIN and everything, you know, could be done, but then you're getting into separate checks and everything else and accounts and etc.
I just know that that's what Shepherd of the Valley did with Safe Space for Schooling. And I know they've done it for other grants where they have, you know, I don't know exactly what the title is of the people, but the payroll and the payments and everything were handled by this other organization, even though the grant was, I mean, it was the same, it still had to be approved by whoever at Shepherd of the Valley had to approve it. And it's still, if there was a Shepherd of the Valley expense that then had to get billed to it, they still billed it. But I just know that the accounting and the payroll and the hours and whatever went to this other company. And then they prepared the checks. And I don't know if they, you know, I don't know exactly how they worked it out, but I know that they prepared the checks, they did the payroll, they did the subtraction, etc. And the only reason I know that is because I know, you know, we had to get the timesheets into them. And I'm not arguing against the timeliness. I'm on the same page with you with the timeliness. That it needs to, you know, we need to have specs up front before major stuff is ordered, and receipts need to be submitted in a timely fashion. I just think that it would be easier and cleaner.
I think it's something we should I think it's something we should do, and I don't know, but I don't know how we find out who's going to do it. I mean, I don't know, but I think it's a good idea.
If everybody's on board with that, I can ask Terry who they used, Pastor Terry, who they used, and you know how that relationship went, and proceed from there.
The only other issue I see is that there's a lot of times where Brad will do, obviously in order to save time and energy, will do orders that are for multiple different areas, which is part of what takes so long, he said, for him to submit receipts, is he has to split up each one of the items for whichever one of the programs it was for. So in that case, you know, that I can receive a credit card statement, and even within that credit card statement, not only is there 7 different accounts that had receipts for, that was purchased for, sometimes within like one Amazon order, it, as even Karen Loffer, you and I were trying to decipher the math and the tax distribution and stuff for that. And you know, I don't know if that would complicate things, because then but maybe he would feel more comfortable communicating with an accounting firm than with me. But the stuff that has to go to RLC maintenance or RLC office, you know, then might just need to be purchased entirely separate instead of on the same bill.
Yeah, it seems to me that if it's him or anybody else, quite honestly, I mean, if I'm purchasing something that some of it I use at home and some of it I use at Resurrection, unless the only way to get a good deal is to buy a whole bunch and then divide it, you know, I buy them separately, and I put, you know, you put everything in one basket and you say, okay, this is everything for Resurrection, and then you put everything in another basket, and you know, this is my stuff at home, so that I've got 2 separate receipts. And I would assume that he should be able to do the same thing with.
Well, I'm just saying he hasn't in the past few years, and then he stopped communicating with me altogether. So I mean, I'm just saying, like, there's, you know, there's this time lapse of getting receipts, and then I get a bill and I don't have the receipts and to know who to charge what against. So, and then within a receipt, it's multiple line items of personal stuff, office stuff, food pantry stuff. One Costco receipt of $400 can be split 4 ways, subtracting out, you know, all the different areas. So it would have to be
cleaner. It'd be cleaner for you too if he had if he was buying stuff for maintenance and worship, that he had to buy that separately.
Yes. And I suggested that once and was told that he doesn't have the time to do that. It's easier to buy it at once, and then later on when he has time, and then not even turn in the receipt, but later on when he has time, divide out what goes to what. And so because I had suggested, you know, I've done that at Costco where I've, you know, done 3 separate little dividers, but he thought that would take up too much of his time, is what he told me in the past. He may change his mind, but that's just what, when I suggested that as one option before, he was saying. So, you know, he could potentially change his mind now. And, you know, that would be a lot easier if I had one receipt that was all for food pantry, say.
Or at least all resurrection.
Well, in all honesty, I mean, you know, it's very hard. He's the one person, he's buying all the office supplies, all the worship supplies, all the cleaning supplies, all of the cold weather shelter supplies, all the food. I mean, he's doing all the buying for everything. I don't know that anybody
And I
else
have to be, I have to be better too, because when I put things on the
Yeah.
Alexa list, I just say blah, blah, blah for RLC. I don't say blah, blah, blah
Yeah.
for worship at RLC.
Yeah, so, but if he knew that this was the way we were going to handle the grants, maybe then the other things would be more straightforward, everything else that he's being asked to purchase.
I mean, we can start with asking Pastor Terry who they used for that.
Yeah.
And how that worked, and if they just did it as contractors instead of
Right.
payroll, then it's up to the individual person receiving the money to do their own federal tax deposits.
Right. Right. So are you going to do that, Pastor Karen, or shall I?
Well, if you want to, you're welcome to. I was gonna, just because I don't know why I just assumed I'd do it.
Okay.
I don't need to.
Well, I can do
Yeah.
it.
Okay. It's
All right,
on your,
I'll
it's
do it.
on your list then.
All right,
Thank you.
on my list.
It's probably
Any other?
better anyway, because if Brad's the one who's doing the purchasing, it's better.
Okay. Any other issues on the program report?
I don't think I had any, but then I think he spelled out all the places there that he thought were different. Lisa's hand is up.
Oh, Lisa, I'm sorry.
You're in the same color, Lisa, as the piece.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the warming shelter on page 2, CBJ warming shelter bid request. So the response was to why, you know, they did not, you know, RLC did not accept the RFB, was not making a bid. But after consulting Karen Law Firm, Pastor Karen instructed to reply that the RLC congregation did not authorize us to submit a bid in response to the RFB. Correct. We would be willing to meet with CBJ purchasing to determine if changes to the RFB might warrant bringing the RFB back to the congregation. I have to
Yes.
question that.
Okay. The question was, we did not put in an RFP.
We didn't put in
RFP.
a bid. We didn't put in a bid.
And it was mainly because there were a lot of things too, when you look at the RFP, that were not acceptable for us as Resurrection. One example would be that the shelter opened November 15th, that it opened no earlier than 10:30, and everybody had to be out at 6:30, that they were going back to the days where if it was going to be under 32 degrees, that's what the days you would be open. Whereas we had negotiated, and the problem is we negotiated all these things for the last contract with Scott Shambor, who was the housing homelessness person identified by the city. And he then since moved jobs, and that was not his job anymore. And then came on Robert Barr, who is the assistant city manager. And so we negotiated with Scott that we would be open from October 15th when the campground closed, to April 15th. You're saying time.
Yeah, I'm not asking about the details that we negotiated. This was you did not negotiate those terms and share those exact detailed terms with the congregation. The congregation does not want the warming shelter for whatever reason. The blanket issue of it's not desirable for this building anymore. They're not interested in those details. And if you're going to bring it back, this is not what they want.
However,
those details are not what they were talking about. They are thinking in terms of warming shelter has brought damage to the building. They're not talking about the dates. They're not talking about those things. That's an internal discussion. I think that you're putting forward a possibility of something that's already been spoken on.
Well, what
that
the vote was.
Lucy,
Hold on, let me say
Lucy.
this because I'm the one
Oh,
I'm in the
okay.
motion.
And then Lucy.
And the motion was to put in a bid. So the congregation did not vote to put in a bid, and it was 50-50. So I'm just going to say this, like people from every side of every decision are telling me the congregation wants. The congregation is split. So there is a half of the congregation that voted against putting in a bid. Now, I believe that there are some people who didn't want to put in a bid because they don't want it, they don't want to deal with it, and they have this illusion about it damaging the building, which it didn't. But I understand that there are people who just don't want it. And that is, I mean, absolutely. There also may well be people who are like, I don't know. And there were things said at the meeting about the warming shelter that were flat out not true. And I don't know how much the decisions people made were based on data that was erroneous. And I certainly know I didn't come prepared to lobby for it or to even really speak to the whole thing, because they didn't offer us a good option. So the congregation has mixed feelings. And I believe that saying if there's a different version that we can bring back to the congregation, we're not going to do anything without asking the congregation, that we can bring back and say, okay, here's some different circumstances, and here's what's true on these things that you were misled on. You know, there may well be people who are not all about, we just don't want it. If there are, and in fact, if there are more people who are like, we just don't want it, then fine, that's the congregation's choice, but we can still bring it back with different circumstances and with actually accurate information.
Okay, next I had Lucy's hand up.
Amanda and Lucy both have their hands up.
Yeah.
Christina, Lucy.
Yeah.
Oh, Christine.
I was going to reiterate some points that Karen brought up, that one of the things that what we were told at the meeting is that everybody thought somebody else was going to apply. I think it was Maria at the Glory Hall or something like that. So everybody thought, oh, okay, well, somebody else is going to cover it. If the congregation finds out that nobody else is going to do it, if Resurrection doesn't do it, I think that they would change their minds, because I think it's a compassionate congregation and we're willing to put up with a new paint job if it will save lives.
Christine,
I think a lot of people voted against it because they want to kind of figure out where we're going forward. I think a lot of people, it wasn't necessarily had anything to do with the numbers and this. I think that what they wanted to do was to not go forward to it. So details on a bid were not given because it wasn't relevant. It was to bid or not to bid. So to say that, well, you were okay with not bidding because you didn't like it anyway is not correct. And the congregation did vote.
Not what I said.
Not
So if you misquoting me, stop it. Stop misquoting me. Excuse
No,
me. I'm done with you
Stop,
misquoting
stop.
me and lying about what I said.
stop,
I'm done with it.
stop. Okay,
It's recorded. I
Yes.
just said.
Yes. I said I didn't come prepared to lobby for it, is what I said.
All I said is that there was no discussion as to what the bid entailed. It was whether or not
That's
to bid for it. That is what I literally just
Okay.
said. I never said anything about you. I said what was presented was to bid or not to bid.
That is true.
So stop interrupting me and yelling at me. This has been the problem the last 4 years, is you sit there and you yell at someone, you interrupt them when you don't agree with anything. You don't even let them finish. It's so
Okay.
rude.
All the time, Christine. So we're both
Continue.
on that. We both fail there.
all right,
No, because I started.
Christine.
speaking up for
But I'm
myself.
done with you lying about stuff that I say.
I did not lie, and we have it recorded.
Yes, that's great. That's great. We can go over it.
Christine, finish your idea.
My thing is that right now, what was presented was to bid or not to bid. And the congregation voted to not bid. So to say that you would be interested in bidding later is kind of a little bit misleading when, that wasn't what was decided. What was decided is that we had chose not to bid on it, and that should have been what it was left at.
We chose not to bid and we didn't bid. And we didn't, at least as far as I know, we didn't tell them we would be interested in bidding if. What we said is there's a possibility we'd be willing to bring it back to the congregation.
It says on here,
Lucy,
willing.
I think the vote was based on incomplete information. I mean, we are incomplete and ill-advised. Maybe it's not, nobody was lying, like we thought that the Glory Hall was going to do it. That's what we thought. So people thought, oh, good, we're off the hook. I think many people voted on information that was not accurate. I'm not saying people lied. I'm just saying that some of the stuff was said was not the whole story.
okay.
Mike's hand.
So,
I don't know if you could see Mike's hand.
Mike.
When the city put out the material, I went on the city and could not find what the conditions were that were in the package. And apparently that you had to be pre-qualified or pre-registered to be able to get a copy. So when it got to the congregation meeting, some of these issues which were mentioned today, I had no idea that they were in there or if that would have made a difference in how I was going to vote, but the information was not available. And I think that the way there's now listing of things there's things we weren't satisfied with and when it was going to open and stuff like that. Nobody except the few involved in preparing the bid had that information. The rest of us did not.
I'm going to respond to that. everybody has to register to look at RFB, and it doesn't cost anything. So I registered and I pulled it up. Secondly, the purchasing office of the city came back to us and said, nobody put in a bid. We want to know why nobody would have put in a bid. And we started going through those things. That's when you asked me to time out, Lisa. Those were things that we had negotiated when someone was specifically involved with home housing and homelessness that needed to be addressed in a proposal, because these were the issues that we had spent the last 2 years dealing with. So the city wanted us to meet to go over these issues so that perhaps someone will put in a bid. And perhaps we should go back to the congregation with that specific proposal and see if that information and we'll bid on that. Those were the two issues.
We'll vote on it. We're not going to bid unless the congregation votes to.
Correct. So those were the two issues that we're dealing with the city with. They wanted to know, why was it that nobody bid? Well, we told them, one, our congregation just voted to not put in a bid. But two, there were some major issues with the bid that were of issue that we could understand why no one would put in a bid, because these were the issues that we had dealt with the last 2 years and what we had negotiated with Scott, who was the homeless and housing individual. Robert doesn't have any of that background, and neither did purchasing, or yeah, I think it's purchasing. The city department is purchasing. Those were the issues then that they want to meet with us on. Lisa.
Then your feedback to them was appropriate to create a better offer for some other entities. I feel that it's disrespectful to the congregation to come back and ask them again, can we put in a bid, when they've already spoken? And your details of what happens down there is not necessarily the details of what the congregation has seen and felt about pastors' availability, pastors, the
Viability. There are a few people who voted just because they want to get rid of me, and I understand that
I
too.
didn't say that.
No, I'm saying it. But I think that's real too. So I just both availability and viability.
But the other side,
The condition of the building, the condition of the outside of the building from people pissing and pooing around the building off time. There's a lot of poor care by these folks. And believe me, I'm very compassionate. I think there should be, but I think we've done that service, and I'm not accepting of having, I can't do that to this building. We don't have enough people to say, it's okay, we're going to pull it together and we're going to clean up after them, because we're not. And they don't clean up after themselves. If we had a bevy of members that had no problem with this, had the time, will, and energy, I just don't see this as what we've got in our people. And this building is suffering.
And I don't want to be disrespectful to the people who are there. I really don't. But remember, it was exactly half. So there are mixed feelings. There are mixed feelings all the way around. And it's not that I don't think that half is 100% important. to the vote. I'm just saying that it was hardly you
A
know,
landslide.
it was,
hardly
it
a-
was, it was hardly agreement or consensus or anything like that. And it may well be that more people feel that way, you know, if we came back. And so I mean, I don't want to be disrespectful to those people, but it's not like the congregation has spoken. I feel like the congregation just wasn't close enough to saying yes. And that wouldn't have been good either if we had just been one vote in yes. But I mean, the reality is we were split. We were split, and I know you feel strongly, and I don't discount that. I just don't think that that's everybody's feeling, or maybe it's not everybody's feeling.
All right. Moving on, let's go on to task forces.
Can I ask a question?
Lucy. Yes.
Away from all this, just about the kitchen. Is there a plan for the kitchen? I mean, that someone who knows what the requirements are for a certified kitchen, so that we know we're covering all the bases and doing it properly?
So
Yes.
so far, yes.
Yes.
Brad's been managing that. There's not a plan like a footprint and a list of purchasable products, or there's not that level of plan yet. But it is there. Brad does know what's required because he knows why he hasn't been able to get it certified for the last 4 years. And so, yeah, he knows that. He knows what's required to meet the contract. And then he has ideas about how to set it up. And that's something that I think would be better. And I know Bob's working on it with him, but you know, there's not a like, this is the plan for the kitchen.
Okay.
Okay. So we're going to move on to task forces. The financial.
Can I interrupt for just a moment?
Mike.
The audit committee report was given, I thought given to everybody in time for the last meeting, but didn't get to it, and I expected it to be on this one.
I have not received it.
Yeah, I thought like Dolores said they finished it, but I haven't received it.
The internal reviews, that one?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Financial
2018.
reviews.
Well, 2017 was just completed.
The internal review, which is what you're now calling the audits, because
Oh, okay.
full scale audits.
Okay, so yeah, so the internal reviews, the audit committees, I guess didn't make it onto today's.
They're on today's agenda under old business.
Okay, hold on.
Okay. So that's what I'm here for. So
Okay.
stick around.
Carry on.
All right. So-
Did she send out an audit for 2017, an audit report or an internal review report?
I didn't get it.
I've not seen anything.
Okay, all right.
So on the task force's financial, Dolores, and she's not here, so she's excused. Congregation, which is me, so I'll give that report. We have identified some people that we want to talk with specifically, and then the other side is we've been discussing with our group and Pastor Karen about doing a Godspeed for Jim and Dot. And our concern, well, we presented what we wanted to talk to people with Pastor Karen, and she came back with a very good idea, is that how do we talk to these people so that they don't think, oh, okay, what do they want now? How could we miss you, we're caring, and then continue on. So it's a real fine line, and we haven't quite got there yet as to how we're going to
Be in
get through
relationship.
that, be in relationship without them thinking, well, now what do they want, type thing. So that's where we're at right now. And I will be using Lauren's expertise for sure, to help with that. Facility, Lucy. Oh,
So,
I'm
no, no, no,
sorry.
let me ask, so wait, so there's no plan to do a farewell Godspeed for Jim and Dot?
We have talked about inviting them to come and do a Godspeed on the 6th of April.
Right.
They declined when I offered to go to their home, and that was a couple of weeks ago. And so then the group came up with do we want to do a farewell and Godspeed? And then Karen is somebody from is Lois contacting them? I thought it was Lois, but is somebody from that group contacting them?
Yes.
They've been going to Shepherd's
Because I
Bush,
think they're leaving on August 8th.
Correct. Yes, and that would be on the 6th of August, the Godspeed. And we are going to invite them to, if they want to sign up for time with Lauren, to sign up with time with Lauren as well,
Okay,
because that's before they leave too.
But I have talked to them, and I have talked to them about, a farewell blessing.
okay, thanks.
All right, Lucy,
Um,
facility.
I have not heard anything back that they have met.
Okay,
I will remind them
Worship.
to.
okay. Worship, Christine.
I was told I was not the lead on this, so we have not met since the last time, and David was sick then.
So who is the lead of worship?
Yeah, you don't have to be the lead. You're
Well,
the
yeah.
liaison, yeah.
The
Right,
liaison.
I thought that I was able to sign up but not be the lead, so.
No, I'm sorry,
I did.
but you are the liaison, yes.
So, yeah, so Amanda, Mike Shorter and I met, and we have not met since then. And at the time, David was sick, and yeah, we just haven't been able to meet since.
Okay, vision.
So first, I want to apologize to everybody for losing my temper. Flat out inappropriate, especially hitting the table, which I know is a trigger for some people, so I am sorry. I'm just saying that because it's my turn now, so I apologize. On vision, nothing different since Thursday. I mean, we're looking forward to Vance and sort of culling together gathering together the information from the other task forces. And I'm pinging individuals, but that's sort of a combo role.
Okay. All right, then we will go to old business, internal reviews. So we have not received the 2017 finished audit.
Yeah, I have they sent the draft. I don't know that they have taken it out of draft that I can see here.
I think Mike tried to look at it and saw that it was not, I don't think, ready, but keep trying. Was it in draft form when you were able to?
I'm searching my email right now. I found that.
Okay.
The final was sent to Christine and to Dolores.
Oh, got it. Okay.
And Dolores.
Excuse me,
Give me one.
I didn't hear.
I'm trying to find it.
I didn't hear any of that from Mike.
The final was sent to Christine and to Dolores. Dolores was the council, whatever title you're giving them
Right.
for coordinating that committee. So it's gone to the council's rep. But apparently hasn't been given to all of you.
So Christine, can you send out that to, I mean, I am the 2018 and we will be doing our audit the 2nd through the 12th
Yep.
of
I'm
August.
looking right now, I see that I received a final of the 2016. Let me see if this still says draft on it. The 17, it looks like I did. Let me separate this out and forward this on. It looks like the draft thing is off of this version. So
Okay.
give me 1 minute and I will get these forwarded.
Okay.
Are you gonna take them up now or not?
Well, if we can get, if everyone has a few minutes to read over them really quickly, so that, you know, we can discuss, then,
Back it off and move on.
yeah. Like while I'm doing this, if we want to go to the, next thing and then, circle back to this.
Okay. So Brad, Adam, and I will be doing the 2018 reviews. And like I said, we need to have things ready so we can go through that starting on August 2nd. And then,
No, call me. I haven't been on the phone. Maybe.
so then, Lisa, do you have action? Do you have action for us to take on the 2019 review?
I do not have any volunteers.
Okay. And then the CPA consultation for external review, we will be setting up a Zoom meeting with Dolores when she gets back on the 9th.
And
So
Christine.
that, and Christine, yes. But when Dolores gets back on the 9th for Jesse to go through his thinking with regards to his recommendations for a bookkeeper for those 3 years. Next, under old business, we have land acknowledgement. And Amanda, I had sent you the land acknowledgement from Northern Lights. Did you receive that?
I did, and I still haven't found who I need to send it to at Tlingit and Hyde. I'm waiting on Travis to get me a name, so.
Okay. All right. So then we can start, because then the next step is once we identify a land acknowledgement, then we will have a policy with regards to where that goes in all of our correspondence and Facebook, our website, all those other things. We'll have a policy on that then. So then under new business, I kept on the establishing the agenda for Lauren. I saw, you know, thank you for doing the sign up sheet, Karen. And
I emailed a copy to you and Lauren. So that
Yes,
you
I
guys
saw
can
that.
tell me, especially Lauren
Yes.
can say, oh, no, I don't want to do it that way, or I do want to do it, you know, I want it,
right.
whatever.
So we'll see what he says. I'm assuming he's probably like you, and Sunday he's off.
And I am told what we have on the website, there is a downloadable app to use it. Not the website, but we don't have an RLC app, but that there would be an app to set those appointments.
Okay. So we have now the 2016 audit report and the 2017 audit report. For
2017, we already did a couple years ago.
So
The 16.
2016 was done and a copy never got into the file.
right,
Okay.
right,
2017 is the one that they just finished.
right.
And is the one the council needs to take up for review.
Well, but this, has anybody ever taken up the 2016 issues? I mean, we would probably have to do the same thing, correct?
I have no idea what happened to the 16.
Well, it's here now.
Yeah, I know it is now,
Yeah.
and I know how it got here, but I don't know if anything happened to it when it got.
So did you all get a copy of the 2016 one?
I was gonna say Christine just emailed it to us.
Oh, okay. I should stop looking under divorce.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. So 2016, we're gonna.
I'm sitting here talking while I'm on mute. That's awesome.
oh,
Oh, sorry, Lucy, I muted you when you were out of the room, so we weren't listening to you, so I can unmute you.
The 2016 contains recommendations, but since we never received a finalized version, it appears to me in looking at the 2017, they carried over those recommendations into 2017, knowing that, you know, we couldn't have acted on them had we not received it.
okay. Well, then it looks like they added some then.
Yes, they added a few.
So which one am I supposed to be looking at right now?
2017.
Okay. Lucy, I muted you when you were out of the room, so if you would unmute when you're ready. Is it not letting you unmute? Yeah, here you go.
Okay, I'm looking at my emails and I don't see it yet, so I don't have anything to say until it arrives.
I will double check that you were on the list. Just one second.
She was.
I'll look in my.
And then I had two email addresses for Amanda. So Amanda, if you received it twice, I apologize. I didn't know which one to use for you.
Just for everybody's
Oh, here it
information,
is.
either of them work for me. They both come to the same app on my phone. So I typically get
that's
things twice. My phone automatically emails from one of them, whether I'm in that one or not. So responses may come from a different email than you sent it to because I forget to change it, but either works.
It is here now, so I'm just looking at them.
On
Okay.
the email thing, most people don't have it, but the RLC pastor email is much faster. The other one is the Kierner one is my personal email, and while I do get it eventually, I just don't check it all the time. It's FYI.
Because I never send it to that one because I can never spell it right.
It's just sometimes I get Lucy, mostly I think it pops up the first on your computer. And so there's stuff that I'm like, oh, that's where it is.
So I would like to make a recommendation as to how we receive those. Considering that it's from calendar year 2016 and 17, I would entertain a motion to accept the audit reports for calendar year 2016 and 2017.
Can we still
I'll second that.
talk about them later if we accept
Well-
them as report? Just because I haven't read it thoroughly, and I don't know if
Well, now that it's been moved and seconded, the other thing that I would suggest is, because I'm doing 2018, that the 2018 audit committee specifically look at the recommendations from the 2017, because they added on the 2016 as well as the 2017, and that we will specifically note if they have been addressed in 2018, not because of the audit, but because maybe it was just addressed and we could take it off the list, or we could continue it on to the 2018.
I'm coming, honey.
So what are the thoughts of the group with regards to that?
I think that's okay. The one thing here that has kind of come forward, and I think was in a previous one, was the fireproof cabinet with confidential information, and you know, being able to get something like that ordered, just so we can say that it's been addressed, because it's something that I think is necessary to have. But other than that, I think some of the other things, like you said, could check to see if perhaps it had subsequently somehow been kind of done, and then kind of keep carrying forward as we make the adjustments now.
Any other thoughts?
Mike's waving.
Mike, I can't see.
Can't
I'm
see all the way
sorry.
back of the row.
Well, yeah, I cannot see that far back. Okay. Mike,
Not for you, my glasses, but they need correction too. The file cabinets, the fireproof file cabinets are in there. And all that need to be done is that all the users who have stuff filed in there understand that from now on, it will be locked, and they need to retrieve the key from the key box to open it, to do their business, and lock it afterwards.
okay.
Other than do their business makes me think of a bad pun.
Yeah.
That's all right.
All right.
Is that fireproof?
So-
That cabinet's fireproof?
Those two fire.
Yeah.
that's
Yes,
it.
they
Oh,
are.
okay, all right.
Yeah,
That's
I
why they're
believe
so
you.
hard to
I
open.
just,
yeah, they're fireproof.
So any other discussion on the motion?
looks good to me.
All those in favor, say aye. Christine and Amanda, you are muted.
I don't
Oh,
know if I can
Lucy, I muted you again.
technically
No,
vote.
Lucy,
Sure, thumbs up, but I say aye if I'm allowed to be considered on.
okay. Oh, yeah. And Amanda?
Aye.
All right. Okay, so we will now start 2018. Okay, then that brings me back, and I just kept it as new business, and I didn't know if it was too soon for the council covenant. I have not thought of additional things to add to the covenant with regards to, I wrote it down here.
So I put together some wording, but how to say this? The other night I wasn't really feeling it. Like, I don't want to have a covenant that doesn't actually speak to the way we choose to operate as a group. And I think it's really valuable, but I also I was feeling like I was driving this, and I don't mind taking the lead, but I guess I want some input on, like, how do other people feel about it? Because it like I said, it just felt like, okay. And that to me is not a good place to make a covenant from, because then it's just not authentic. So I'm putting that out to you.
Okay.
That's, yeah,
You're not feeling it.
not out of that particular Bible verse. I wouldn't mind putting it in there as, kind of a guiding piece, but to try and mold something out of it I'm not feeling that. But I can see that as being, we would read that one or a different Bible verse about the discipleship.
how
and
we be
how we
together.
are together. And then still have other principles. Because I think it's sort of like a mission statement. So a covenant statement.
Mhm.
Or a Bible verse to guide us in our hearts and our minds.
Well, So the first one that I thought of, and I don't remember if we talked about this, but the first one that I thought of was that we commit ourselves to glad and joyful service. Is that too far out, Lisa?
It's not just me I just spoke my thoughts to
My
her.
truth. She spoke her truth.
Yeah, I spoke my truth.
Yeah, well,
So
I'm just asking, am I way off base on something to say something like that in a council covenant? Is that too
Or do
out?
we need to, do we need to back up and kind of start over? Was what I was wondering.
I mean,
All
that
right.
could be a summary of,
Yeah.
commit ourselves to.
Okay,
So-
I'm going to give everybody, because I get to give everybody homework
Uh-huh.
for the next meeting. I want everybody to come up with the Bible verse or verses, it can be more than one, that gives them the guidance that they feel that we should use for the council covenant. And then and everybody can send that into me, and then we will put that
Or me, I'm the pastor.
or pastor, yeah, either one. But then we could just send them all out, and people can then look at which Bible verse / verses speak to them. And
About
maybe
how
we'll
we
all,
want to be together.
yes. What do you think?
Works for me.
I mean,
Okay, so
I like that one.
But
Okay.
our statement has to feel right for
Yeah.
us. So yeah.
okay. All right, so everybody has homework.
I feel like I'm working with Wizard of Oz here.
Genie. Oh yeah.
Wait a minute, I need a curtain.
An alternate universe of Wizard of Oz.
Now you could put a green, you could put a green filter on your Zoom.
I could do all kinds of things, but you know
I
what?
sometimes put a flower in my hair on Zoom, and mostly other people don't notice when they don't say anything, and so it's just if I'm in the mood, I put a flower on.
You guys, when I'm in Illinois, I'm just surprised this stuff even works.
On a farm in Illinois.
I know. All right. Do I have any other good for the organization?
Yes.
Karen?
I'm sorry, I was walking up the stairs this morning. I was thinking, I need to bring this up for the good of the organization. Don't forget. And that's the part I remembered. So. It's a community thing. That I think it was like, tell people about this community thing.
You're going to have to send it out for an email.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to send it out through an email. Darn it. I mean, seriously, I was walking up, but my brain just stops thinking about other things during service. And I really was. I was like walking up the steps thinking, yeah, bring this up at council today. It's nothing like life-changing. But it was something I wanted to share and encourage. Oh, yes. Thank you. It's not strictly a community thing. The cluster gathering, the fall cluster gathering is in Sitka and I know I mentioned this before, but they're kind of looking for reservations now. So in order to plan it and then to figure out like how many shared housing and stuff like that. So that's something that I want people to think about, and then, think about, okay. What do we have in the budget, and who's gonna go?
Well, because I'm going to be in Alaska during that time period,
Mhm.
I would like to go.
Well,
I'm
you
gonna
should
put
be
it-
going if you're president. So
well.
it goes without saying.
Lisa
I
has
know,
a
and I
house
have a-
there. I think we could just move in on her.
On my residence?
On your residence, yeah. Tell them, move over. I got some people coming from my church.
So
Do you know the dates?
Yes. I do.
September 15th through 17th.
Oh, June, okay, yeah.
Okay, can I say something?
Yes, Lucy.
Okay, please pray for Ted and me. His dementia right now is and paranoia is just driving me nuts. His fear is that the house is falling off the cliff, and we had to get up at 5 o'clock this morning and walk around the house and make sure it
Oh,
wasn't.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's just and like he took when I went out and got us at McDonald's for breakfast because I was so tired. And he said, now don't park in the carport when you come back, because he's afraid the carport is going to fall down. It's just really stressful.
Oh,
That's why, that's why I keep having to pop up, and he's just,
Yeah.
he's just really disoriented right now, and it's very much a struggle.
Can I bring you
I'm
communion,
sorry.
Lucy?
What?
Can I bring you communion while I'm dressed?
I don't think so. Okay. Oh, okay. We're just about done with our meeting. Okay.
all right, Lucy.
Okay.
We pray for you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
So do I have a
Motion to adjourn?
motion? Yes, motion to adjourn.
So
Also
moved.
move.
Oh,
I'll
I
second
was
it.
saying motion to adjourn, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and so Pastor Karen seconded. Who
Yeah.
seconded?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, all seconded.
all right. All those
Okay.
in favor?
Aye.
Okay, up there's the thumbs up, Christine.
Our
All
Father-
right.
Oops, sorry. Our Father,
who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Amen.
peace.
And remember everybody, the miraculous mundane.
Mundane. Yes, miraculous mundane. I like that. I do like that.